What is going on, guys, and welcome back to another Trailblazer Leagues video. Within the first 12 hours of release, I was able to unlock 2 new regions, as well as the first 3 relics. I wanted to keep up a good pace, so while I was editing the last video, I kept training my woodcutting, antiques, and my fishing through barbarian fishing. Throughout the whole time, I managed to get a bunch of clues, but since you're able to get clues from regions that you don't actually have unlocked, it's actually impossible to finish some of the clue steps. I did, however, manage to complete one easy clue, which gave a total of 3 different tasks. Before, my goal was to do as many easy tasks as I could to unlock new regions. My approach at this point, however, was to focus as much as I can on tasks that gave the most points. This is because I want to start unlocking relics that increase my XP and drop rates as soon as I can. So at this point, I started doing a lot of skilling tasks that I either had the level for or was pretty close to. And since I AFK'd a bunch of woodcutting and barb fishing, I was able to do a bunch of tasks that I couldn't before. The first task I did was to cut 75 magic logs for a whole 100 points. Since the teak logs auto bank with endless harvest, I had a ton of logs that I could burn and get my fire making up really quickly. I took the opportunity to get 60 fire making and burn a bunch of yew logs for another 100 points. Because barb fishing also trains agility, I was also able to get a pretty decent agility level from AFKing. This allowed me to complete the Valley course for another 50 points. The fishing level also gave me entry to the fishing guild, which was yet another fast and easy 50 points. One of the big perks of unlocking Ascarnia is access to the rogue's outfit, which gives double loot when you thieve. It was also a 100-point task, so it was a no-brainer to go as soon as I could. It's also going to help me a lot in the near future when it comes to making money in the early game. While I was searching through the task list, I found out about a hard task to wield a topaz machete. Since you can buy it for 2,000 trading sticks and selling gems is a way of earning trading sticks, I went ahead and mined a bunch of gem rocks and sold them to buy the machete, making it an easy to complete 100-point task. I also decided to do Porcine of Interest, which was a relatively new quest that I never actually did before, and it only took less than 10 minutes, and it gave another 50 points. The quest also gave me the Slayer level requirement to kill wall beasts, which was another 50 points. At this point, I was only a little off the 4k points I needed for the tier 4 relic. I made the mistake of picking a RNG task to do, which was to cut psilocybe trees for 1 in 100 drop. As you can see from the chat box, this took me way longer than I expected, and now I hate this part of Fossil Island with a passion. For the last task, before 4k points, I cut 100 sharks for 100 points. With this, I was finally able to unlock my tier 4 relic. The tier 4 relic options were Treasure Hunter and Unnatural Selection. Treasure Hunter pretty much gives you a 1 in 20 chance of getting a clue box from any NPC that drops clues, and those clue boxes are pretty much clues that stack, and they also have the minimum steps possible. Unnatural Selection lets you pick your Slayer task and also buff the rate of superiors. The loot from superiors is buffed as well, and the superiors have a guaranteed chance of dropping a clue. Last year in Twister Leagues, they offered a similar version of both of these relics, and I had picked Treasure Hunter and not Unnatural Selection. This time, however, not only is Treasure Hunter worse than it was before, clues don't actually make up a large percent of the elite tasks compared to last time. And considering Unnatural Selection was also changed to offer a slight buff to clues anyway, I decided to go with it. There are also way more Slayer bossing related tasks this time, so I feel like I won't regret my choice. At this point, I wasn't exactly sure what to do, so I did a bunch of quests that I knew I either had to do in the future, gave XP, or were part of some sort of diary requirement. I also managed to get my mage level to 52 from telling around, so I bought a wizard mind bomb from Valley to boost it up to 55 and high alch for a 50-point task. After some thinking, I decided I want to train thieving so that I could get some starter GP to do stuff that I otherwise could not afford. I wanted to be able to have enough for a D-skim as well as other random things. So I started thieving Master Farmers. At first, I was here for 55, but I ended up staying as long as I needed to when I found out there was a 50-point task to get a Renara seed from them. From there, I moved on to Arty Knights, which themselves had a 50-point task for thieving them 50 times. Once I had enough starter money, I decided to start doing birdhouse runs. The only reason I didn't start doing birdhouse runs earlier was because I couldn't afford the 10,000 GP it cost to make a workshop. I ended up getting birdhouses fully set up and started doing them regularly in between tasks. After a lot of thieving, I got level 75 and stole from the nearby gem stall for a quick 100 points. I ended up stopping at 78 thieving because it's a requirement for another task, and because I had enough GP to buy D-skim. was only after buying the deskim that I realized I was stupid and I only had 59 attack. Next up, I decided to continue doing quests in the Goblin storyline, because they unlocked a lot of tasks. First was the Lost Tribe, which gave 50 points for completion, and also gave another 50 points by allowing you to buy and equip a Dorg crossbow, which was another task. After that was Death of Dorgeshin, which gave 50 points on completion again, and unlocked the city of Dorgeshkan. When inside Dorgeshkan, I thieved the bullseye lantern off of a cave goblin for 50 points, and then I lit it for another 50 points. Since I got 78 thieving earlier, I was also able to thieve Dorgeshkan chest for a diamond, and that gave 100 league points. At some point I just got impatient of being 59 in attack and using a midsword everywhere, so I just started training at ogres for 60. Equipping the dragon scimitar gave 150 points, 100 for wielding a dragon item, and 50 for just wielding a dragon skim. Then on top of that, I also got another 50 points for using the deskim special for a total of 200 points. I was missing a lot of runecrafting tests, and my runecrafting level was pretty low, so I decided to mine S for a bit so I could train it. I started by using 200 S at ZMI, which gave a bunch of different task completions, including ones based on level. This was extremely quick because of the Lost Recall Relic. Pretty much, you just kept teleporting from the bank back to the ZMI altar, back to the bank, and it was ridiculous. Meanwhile, this entire time I still kept up with my birdhouse runs, so I ended up getting 50 points for dismantling 20 birdhouses. I decided to start the defender grind, so I went to the warrior guild, and there was no easier way to get myth legs with my unlock, so I decided to settle for black armor for getting tokens. I assigned myself a hail giant task using my recently acquired unnatural selection relic, so that I could get Slayer XP while I kill the Cyclopses, since they counted as hill giants. I also decided to bury every single big bone that I got so I could train prayer, since I didn't have overheads yet. One of the annoying things about assigning myself hill giant tasks were that they gave such a small amount and only gave between like 20 or 40. And every single time I finished the task, I would have to go back to Duriel and get a new one. This ended up not being that big of a deal because of how OP the Lost Recall Relic actually is. So all I actually had to do was tele outside of my house in Brimhaven, run north to the cart and travel to Shiloh, and then get my task from Duradel, and then I would just press the memory button to go back inside the Cyclops room. And I didn't even have to pay the 10 token fee for re-entering. In hindsight, I'm pretty sure you can repeatedly tele in and out between kills and avoid paying any tokens at all as soon as you get in. Eventually I got a rune defender, and I decided to do other tasks for a break since I was getting bored. While I was at Cyclopses, I sat there and made a long list of easy to finish tasks that I could do that gave at least 50 points. I found that a lot of them were crafting related and hunter related, at pretty low skill requirements, but still gave a 50 point reward. For example, crafting an emerald ring is only 27 crafting but gives 50 points. There's also a task to enter the crafting guild for 50 points, which is really easy to get since you only need 40 crafting. I also decided to do the task of creating 100 unpowered orbs, and in order to get the molten glass, I would buy soda ash and buckets of sand from an unpopular charter ship that wasn't really bought out. Then I would use the last recall and seed pod method to bank supplies really rapidly. While I was actually doing the glass blowing, I remembered that I got 43 prey at Cyclopses and that I could activate melee prey for 50 points. Completing the glass blowing itself got me another 50 points, as well as bumping my crafting all the way up to 55. I had stopped before at 78 thieving, but quickly got 80 when I realized thieving a hero is a 100 point task, making thieving a really good source of points. Crafting a ruby amulet was also a 50 point task that was relatively easy for me to do. I made an oak larder as well for 50 points, which was another task that I had to put off earlier because I couldn't afford it at the time. I ended up completing a Soulsbane for 50 points as well, and it is also a requirement for the Varrock Diaries. There is a 50 point task for making and filling a medium stash unit, and the one in Edgeville can be filled with really easy to get supplies. It needs a brown apron, a leather glove, and leather boots, which you can buy all from the Varrock clothes store. Equipping a prey bonus of 15 or more also is another speedy task that I did, which you can accomplish by having a holy symbol and monk robes equipped. I had a bunch of Slayer points stocked up from Hill Giant tasks, so I decided to use some of them to unlock superiors, which itself was a 50 point task. There's a few things that require talismans, so I went to the Abyssal Fairy Ring to kill monsters that drop them. This allowed me to complete a combination rune task and multiple runes for essence tasks for 50 points each. Since my hunter level shot up rapidly with birdhouses, I was able to go to Felda Pills and complete a few tasks there. One was to trap a La Rupia, for 50 points, and also catch a butterfly for another 50. I got 3 of the Larupias because the fur can be converted into clothing at the Varrock Fancy Dresser, and equipping a full hunter outfit is 50 points in itself. This one I didn't really expect, but I went to Red Salamanders to do a task of catching a singular Red Salamander, but there was also another task to catch any salamander, and they both gave 50 points, so this was 100 points in total to do. I decided to get my smithing up so I could do Elemental Workshop 2 for the reward XP, and I got 30 smithing for the quest, and that also allowed me to make a steel bar for 50 points. Completing Elemental Workshop 2 gave a ton of craft and smith XP, which gave me the level I needed to do another task, which was make a steel plate body, which was also 50 points. I also crafted a Digsite pendant, which I used to complete the task of telling to Fossil Island with it, and right after that I made a birdhouse with yew logs, which was another 50 points. I hadn't realized that there were 2 really good agility tasks that I could have done this entire time. One was to cross the Cosmic Altar shortcut, which requires 66 agility, and the other was to do Lap of Seers, which requires 60. And both of them give 100 points, so that's a lot of points to be earned from agility. Being as I was close to the tier 5 relic at this point, I decided to do some tasks I was putting off. One being to train fire making to 75, so I could burn magic logs for 100 points. I also killed a mole one time for 50 points, and I cannot emphasize enough how annoying this was without the diary. It took forever. I then went around and did a bunch of random tasks like enter the Hardwood Grove, complete Bark Roll and do a lap of the Barb Agility course, cook a pineapple pizza, and kill a steel dragon. All of them gave 50 points each. With only 200 points left for tier 5, I knew exactly what I was going to do to finish the relic off. First, I was going to kill a demonic for 100 points, and this took a very long time to kill, considering I was only 45 range. Unfortunately, I didn't get anything decent like a Rune Alk. I decided to finish off the last few points I needed with the Dragon Defender task, which rewards 100 points. I finally ended up getting it after 300 kills, which got me enough points to unlock the tier 5 relic. I decided to go with Botanist. My main reason for going Botanist is that the skilling XP rewards cap at 25 mil, so I just don't see a large benefit of picking the 2 relics that increase the rate of which you get XP by a very small amount. I know the weapons are they synergize very well with Endless Harvester, but the time you save doesn't seem that ridiculous because they're all pretty fast skills, and Equilibrium doesn't seem like it boosts XP enough for me to not want to have the buff from Botanist the entire 2 months. And the buff from Botanist that I care the most about is that potions, or any boosts rather, don't drain at all. So if you pot up like Super Combat or something, you will never lose that pot unless you brew, or like, I don't know, an NPC drains your stats, which only like Maiden does, right? So it's something you would literally be able to keep the entire time for like an entire encounter. Maybe you could literally pot up at the bank, and then like 5 weeks later after doing Slayer you're still potted. Like, that seems silly and fun, and I think that'd be pretty cool to have. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoy the video. I will keep the league content coming as always, and thanks for watching. I said it last time, but I want to give another quick shout out to Ditterbitter. We're pretty much doing everything unleagued, the same route, the same path, and any content you like from me, you would probably like from him, because we're doing exactly the same relics, the same regions, and the same playstyle. So be sure to check them out if you haven't.